Fortnite just dropped a massive update ahead of Globals, and there's a lot to unpack. Let's start with one of the biggest changes. Medallions are being vaulted. If you're playing pubs or ranked, medallions won't appear anymore, but don't worry, they'll still be in tournaments until after Globals, so competitive players aren't losing anything for the big events. This means teams preparing for Globals won't have to completely change their drop spots or strategies at the last minute, which is a relief. Next up, ranked loot now matches the tournament loot pool. That's huge since Shockwave Launchers, overpowered swarm strikes, and other random items won't appear in ranked anymore. You can now play ranked and practice using the same loot you'll see in tournaments. For anyone grinding ranked or prepping for competition, this change makes practice so much more meaningful, and you're not going to open a chest and pull a wild card that completely changes the fight. You'll know what to expect, and you can focus on improving your mechanics and in-game skills. Epic also made it easier to hit the S+ O.X.R rank in solos and duos. Mythic weapons like the Havoc shotgun and overclocked pulse rifle are now easier to acquire. That's going to make the late game fights feel more competitive, especially in solos and duos. With medallions gone and stronger weapons available, players now have a bigger focus on skill rather than luck, which makes games feel more exciting. Speaking of competitive play, Duo's divisional cups are returning. Duo competitions now have 5 divisions spread across 2 days on NA Central and EU. This is more structured than before and means players can really grind and track progress. Solo cups will also be back in the future, giving players a chance to test their individual skill. Whether you're trying to climb the rankings or just improve in your competitive skill, these events are the perfect way to get practice against stacked lobbies. Epic is clearly trying to get people back into ranked and competitive ahead of Globals. Now for some of the map and environment updates, leaks suggest that Utopia City is going to be overtaken by the expanding bug biome, and it will emit a blue smoke once it happens. This could completely change how rotations and endgames play out in the area, and some teams might actually switch drops. If you remember from one of my previous videos, Utopia City is triple contested, so after this update, if the POI is worse, some teams might clear out and land at another POI. Additionally, the mud mechanic is returning, but in the form of the goo effect. Players will be able to slide around the map, cancel fall damage, and potentially throw the goo down for mobility, which is similar to what we saw in Chapter 3, but it could be even more useful for endgame rotations and aggressive plays. Another feature returning is the train, and it's expected to follow a similar route as before, winding around near the middle of the map, acting as a hotspot for loot and contested fights. If it drops a mythic weapon, controlling the train early in a match could be a major advantage. If you remember in Chapter 6 Season 2, teams such as Peterbot locking it down had a major advantage off spawn and had the best loot to W key. Teams locking it down could dictate rotations and positioning for the late game, making it a critical point on the map. Let's talk weapons and loot. The minigun has been buffed, with less recoil at short and mid-range, making it a more viable option in fights. Shockwave Launchers are also vaulted now, but an exotic variant will appear at the O.X.R base. With medallions gone and mythic weapons easier to acquire, the focus in ranked and tournaments will shift more towards skillful engagements rather than relying on crazy loot spawns. These changes make ranked play more predictable and competitive, and you can now practice rotations, positioning, and endgame strategies in a way that actually translates to tournaments. You won't be fighting someone who got an insanely overpowered random item in their first chest, and this change alone will improve the quality of ranked games and gives players a proper way to train for competition. It's also worth noting that with medallions being removed, high-level players may see fights feel slightly different. Without medallions giving crazy boosts, players will need to rely more on skill and strategy to secure wins. This could make endgames more exciting and accessible, especially for players who focus on placement and rotations rather than just chasing loot advantages. To sum it all up, ranked loot now matches tournaments, medallions are being vaulted in pubs, and ranked S+ O.X.R rank is easier to get. The minigun is now buffed, Shockwave Launchers are gone, but getting an exotic variant. Duo's divisional cups are coming back, solo cups are coming back, Utopia City is getting overtaken, mud goo is coming, and the military train returns. That's a lot of updates to digest, and each one has an impact on how competitive plays out in the coming weeks. If you want to stay ahead of everyone else, Make sure to subscribe for more competitive content so you don't miss updates, strategies, or tips for improving in ranked and tournaments. This update sets up some really exciting scenarios, and we're going to see how players adapt to the new loot, map changes, and endgame strategies for the 2025 FNCS Global Championship. This could greatly affect where pro players drop during the FNCS Globals and how their strategies play out. Overall, this is one of the most significant competitive updates we've seen in Fortnite in a long time. Ranked players now have a reason to grind, solos and duos feel more rewarding, and the map and loot changes make the game feel fresh while also keeping high-level play meaningful. Whether you're prepping for globals, duos, divisional cups, or just want to climb ranked, this update gives you everything you need to succeed, and it's actually a good update for once in a while. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more competitive content, and I'll see you in the next one.